So let's take a look at the real Lord's Day. The real Lord's Day. Mark 2 and verse 27. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. What day did Jesus say is the Lord's Day? Jesus says the real Lord's Day is the seventh day of the week, the Sabbath day. And he tells us that the Sabbath was made for man. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, he created man on the sixth day, and the seventh day he gave him a day of rest. How wonderful is this? Now I admit, with Jewish tradition and the oral law, a lot of the Pharisees had made Sabbath keeping a miserable experience. They condemn Jesus' disciples for harvesting on the Sabbath. They were not harvesting. Believe me, they were not harvesting corn on the Sabbath day. They were not out there making an income. They were not out there making money. They didn't have the little sacks where they put the corn in. They didn't have any of that. They were just taking a few kernels of corn and popping them in their mouth. So, but they had, you know, the Jewish tradition and oral law, you know, you can pick a few grapes off the vine, but if you pick a cluster, that's sinning, that's harvesting. These are not God's law. These are Jewish traditions. This is the oral law or the tradition of the elders, okay, which Jesus totally dismissed, by the way. Totally dismissed. Jewish tradition and the oral law and the tradition of the elders. Of course, it got him killed because they had placed their interpretation of the law above God's law. Yeah. So the true worshiper then will be keeping the Ten Commandments. I mean, think about it. One cannot imagine a true worshiper bowing down to an idol or taking God's name in vain or serving false gods. But how many who profess to be true worshipers of God or Christians completely disregard or even reject the fourth commandment? How many do that? I mean, yeah, they're all for 9 of the 10 commandments, but they totally reject the Sabbath day. The true worshiper, Christians who keep the seventh day Sabbath, are often thought to be a little strange. Excuse me, I got all my notes right here. They are thought to be a little bit strange. Sabbath-keeping churches are often labeled as cults. They are. They're labeled as cults. Seldom does one find in Christian bookstores material promoting Sabbath-keeping. But there's tons of literature against keeping the Sabbath. That is far more common in bookstores.
Check us out on the web at isthatreallyinthebible.com.